Smith is already all in on Sanders to Cincinnati, and that endorsement alone is sending shockwaves through the league. But inside Cleveland's facility, the silence says more. No denial. No press conferences. No effort to calm the waters. The Browns aren't just losing control, they might already have. Stefanski's anger is boiling over, but the front office is split, and the locker room is cracking.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Some players have begun to question whether the team ever had a clear plan. And Sanders? He's watching it all quietly. That kind of silence in the middle of a storm doesn't signal peace. It signals preparation. Cleveland Browns. If the Browns let this slip through their fingers, it won't just be a PR nightmare. It will be a case study in how not to handle a franchise quarterback in the making. Teams don't just lose players like Sanders, they push them out through indecision and disarray. And right now, Cleveland is doing both. Kevin Stefanski is reportedly furious, and based on how things are unfolding in Cleveland right now, furious might be putting it lightly. His team is stuck in one of the worst quarterback crises in the NFL, his offense is underperforming, and now, a $30 million offer from a division rival is threatening to pull away the one player who was supposed to stabilize it all, Shedeur Sanders. This isn't just some overhyped rumor. This is the Bengals coming directly for the Browns' future. And the timing? Couldn't be more disruptive. The Browns are already sliding. Fans have watched the team lose momentum week after week. The locker room is tense. The offensive line is struggling. There's no clear leadership on the field. And now, on top of everything else, they might lose their most promising quarterback prospect before he's even fully integrated into the system. Shedeur Sanders is being aggressively pursued by the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a confirmed $30 million offer. Not for next year. Not down the road. The Bengals are reportedly adjusting contracts, clearing cap space, and building around a real plan. Joe Burrow's injuries have forced the front office into survival mode. And they're not just looking for a temporary patch. They're looking for a full pivot. They see Sanders as the guy. That's the part that's hitting Cleveland the hardest. This wasn't supposed to be a sweepstakes. The Browns weren't preparing to compete for their own player. They thought they had him. They thought this was their future. A young quarterback with brand power, star potential, and years ahead to build a new offensive identity. And now? He's scrubbing his social media. He hasn't released a statement. He hasn't clarified a single thing. That silence has become because in today's NFL, when a player with this much buzz goes quiet and starts cleaning up their online presence, it's rarely random. Inside the Browns facility, there's fear. There's confusion. And most of all, there's anger. Kevin Stefanski is watching the narrative slip out of his hands. He's being asked about rumors in press conferences. He's being challenged on leadership. His own quarterback isn't talking. And the fans? They're either melting down or checking out. The tension is visible. The pressure is rising. And the decisions being made behind closed doors? Not all of them are aligned. Reports say the Browns' front office is divided. Some executives believe they need to offer more, keep him at all costs. Others say the damage is already done. That forcing a player to stay won't fix the broken trust in the locker room or with the fan base. It's not just Stefanski dealing with the fallout. Players are reportedly questioning the leadership structure. Some are frustrated they weren't told earlier that this was brewing. Others feel like they're being left in the dark while a major quarterback negotiation is being waged above their heads. That internal instability? It's just making the Bengals' offer look stronger. Because while Cleveland is unraveling, Cincinnati is unified. This isn't a desperate move. It's a calculated one. They've seen the injuries pile up with Burrow. They've seen how quickly a franchise can go from contender to crumbling if the quarterback position becomes a question mark. And they're not interested in waiting to find out how long Burrow's health will hold up. They're acting now, boldly, and with full support from ownership, players, and fans. Smith has already thrown his full endorsement behind the Bengals' pursuit. According to him, This is exactly the kind of move a smart franchise makes when they recognize both opportunity and vulnerability. Sanders, in his eyes, isn't just a decent prospect, he's a potential star. That kind of public support isn't helping Cleveland either. It's adding pressure, adding hype, amplifying every moment of Sanders' silence, and fueling the media storm surrounding this entire saga. The league is watching. Every other front office, every coach, every quarterback in a tough situation. This isn't just about Shedeur Sanders anymore. It's about what happens when a young player has leverage and uses it, and what happens when a team like Cleveland, already stretched thin, has to respond in real time while the story breaks around them. The Browns are trying to hold firm, but their hold looks more fragile by the day. They're in reactive mode. The PR statements are vague. The locker room leaks are increasing. And the narrative? It's spiraling. They thought they had a window to build something, a future to rally around. Now, they're just trying to stop it from falling apart in front of the entire league. If Sanders walks, it's not just a player loss, it's a symbolic one. It says Cleveland can't protect its future, that it can't keep talent, that it can't win the trust of its most important piece. That's what Kevin Stefanski's really furious about. He's not just losing a quarterback. He's watching the Browns get exposed on a national level. He's watching his own leadership get questioned. And he knows how these stories go. Lose the locker room? You lose the job. Meanwhile, Cincinnati is sitting back and letting the chaos unfold. They've already made their pitch. They don't need to say anything else. The fan base is energized. The strategy is in motion. And the ball is in Sanders' court. And what a position he's in. He's holding all the power. One yes or no reshapes the AFC North. One decision impacts 2 franchises, 2 head coaches, and potentially the next 5 years of quarterback headlines in the NFL. He hasn't spoken, but he doesn't need to. Every hour that passes is a calculated move. Every day of silence? Another layer of leverage. Cleveland can't wait much longer. The damage is already visible. The question is, can they recover if he leaves? Or is this just another chapter in the Browns' endless cycle of almosts and woofs? If Sanders stays, the Browns may be able to patch things up. But if he goes? It's not just a loss. It's an indictment. On leadership. On execution. And trust. So now, all eyes stay locked on Sanders. And everyone else? Waiting. Refreshing. Reading into every little move, every little clue. Because when that decision comes, it's going to hit hard. Drop your thoughts below. Does Shedeur Sanders make the jump to Cincinnati? Or does he stay and try to fix what's already unraveling in Cleveland? Hit like if this story has you on edge. Share it with someone glued to every update. And subscribe, we're not even close to the end of this. The longer this goes on, the louder the silence gets. Every hour that Shedeur Sanders says nothing is another hour Cleveland loses grip on its own narrative. The Browns are no longer controlling this story, they're reacting to it. Scrambling behind the scenes while Cincinnati patiently waits, calculated and calm. And Kevin Stefanski? He's not hiding it anymore. Sources have confirmed the head coach is not just irritated, he's boiling. He's been the face of too many rebuilds, too many PR nightmares, and too many quarterback experiments that went nowhere. As though? This feels personal. This feels like betrayal. Because for once, they had something real. Something promising. And now, it might just vanish, without a single word. This is not just about the $30 million offer anymore. It's about pride, control, identity. The Bengals have gone from lurking to launching a full-on quarterback heist. And they're doing it with a type of confidence that comes from years of smart front office decisions. They're not acting out of desperation. They're making a move grounded in strategic foresight. Joe Burrow is injured. The Bengals know that banking on a full return to form is risky. And what they're doing now is protecting their window, something the Browns have never really had the luxury to do. Meanwhile, Cleveland is spiraling. There's chatter that Stefanski has clashed with members of the front office over how this entire thing has been handled. That Sanders wasn't supposed to be exposed like this. That the timing of the offer from Cincinnati has gutted the locker room. That confidence inside the building is shot. And as much as the organization wants to project calm, the players are reportedly just as rattled. Teammates don't know whether to speak out or stay silent. Some have allegedly reached out to Sanders directly. Some feel like they're already moving on emotionally, just in case. That's not a healthy locker room dynamic. That's not a foundation for a team chasing a playoff spot. And while all of this internal drama brews, Sanders is still silent. Nothing on Instagram. No statements through his agent. No tweets. Not even a vague post for the media to spin. His last public-facing moves were deleting content and cleaning up his social media, classic signs that a player is preparing for a major transition. And it's working. The Browns are completely off balance. The media cycle is completely in the Bengals' favor. Even fans who were once staunch supporters of Stefanski are now asking, what's the plan here? Because if the answer is, we hope he doesn't leave, that's not a plan. That's a gamble. And Cincinnati? They've already shown their hand. Cincinnati Bengals. They're not asking questions. They're answering them. They've put the money on the table. They've aligned the organization. They've made it known that Shedeur Sanders is the guy they want to lead their next era of football, especially if Burrow's future remains uncertain. Let's be clear, they're not replacing Burrow out of disrespect. They're planning for survival. Because the last few years have proven that you can't build a long-term contender around a player who can't stay on the field. The Bengals are doing what great teams do. They're protecting their house before it catches fire. And in the process, they're pushing Cleveland to the edge. This situation is becoming a referendum on the Browns' ability to manage their own talent. Can they create a stable enough environment to keep a rising star? Can they handle the business side of football with the urgency and precision that the modern NFL demands? Because let's be honest, the silence from Sanders isn't random. It's strategy. It's pressure. And it's working. It's forcing Cleveland to reveal their cracks. To show what's not working. To make the world see what the players already know. This isn't a stable situation. This isn't the team with the upper hand. The Browns are trying to hold on. But the longer they try without resolution, the more they look like they're begging. And players? They feel that. So does the league. And so does Cincinnati. They've got the advantage now, and they know it. They don't need to say a word. They've put their offer out. They've made space for him. And they're watching Cleveland twist itself into knots trying to spin a story that is very quickly slipping away. Because if Shedeur Sanders accepts the Bengals' offer, and everything points to him seriously considering it, it's not just a player transaction. It's a moment that changes the AFC North. It sends a message across the NFL. Teams that don't evolve lose talent. Franchises that don't manage their futures well get eaten by the ones that do. And for the Browns? It's a hard reset they never saw coming. They thought they had time. Time to develop Sanders. Time to build the offense around him. Time to finally stabilize the position that's haunted them for decades. Now that time is gone. Or close to it. And when that decision comes, whether it's a press release, a cryptic tweet, or a clean jersey swap photo, it's going to change everything. It's going to reshape the quarterback market. It's going to shift the balance of power in the division. It's going to put Cleveland on the defensive for years to come. Because you don't recover from losing your future to a rival. Not quickly. Not quietly. And for Kevin Stefanski, this might be the tipping point. If Sanders walks, his job security goes with him. The fans already have questions. The front office is already fractured. And the narrative will turn swiftly. Another star lost. Another head coach who couldn't make it work. That's how fast this league moves. That's how brutal this game is. And Sanders? He's still watching it unfold in silence. Holding all the leverage. Holding the futures of two franchises in his hands. So where does this end? With a single decision. And whatever that decision is, it's going to make headlines. Cleveland Browns. At this point, the question isn't just what Shedeur Sanders is going to do. The question is, what happens to the Browns if he leaves? Because let's be honest, this isn't just a roster shakeup. This is a potential identity collapse. The Browns have spent years trying to stabilize the quarterback position. They've thrown contracts, draft picks, hype, and hope at the position over and over again. And when Sanders arrived, there was this feeling, maybe quiet at first, but real, that finally, they'd landed someone who could break the cycle. He had the name. He had the presence. He had the potential. And he had fans genuinely believing that if Cleveland could just build around him, they had a chance to rewrite their reputation. But now, one offer from Cincinnati, and the entire blueprint has gone up in smoke. And let's be clear, this isn't a bad team trying to poach out of desperation. This is a contender. The Bengals aren't rebuilding. They're recalibrating. They're not blowing up the system. They're preparing for what happens if Burrow doesn't come back at full strength. And they're not waiting around to be caught off guard again. They've already made their move. They're not hiding it. That $30 million offer wasn't just an offer, it was a signal. Flex. They're playing long-term chess while Cleveland can't even decide who's holding the board. And while the Browns are caught between confusion, silence, and full-on meltdown mode, the Bengals are sitting back and letting the dysfunction play out. They've turned this into a psychological game. And they're winning. Let's not ignore what this looks like from the outside. The Browns' head coach is reportedly furious. The locker room is divided. The fans are exhausted. And Shedeur Sanders, the one person who could put out the fire, has chosen to say nothing. He hasn't defended the Browns. He hasn't committed to staying. He hasn't even attempted to quiet the storm. That's not accidental. That's calculated. He's keeping every option open while Cleveland publicly crumbles. And Cincinnati? They're letting him control the timeline. That kind of leverage is rare. That kind of silence, this deep into a controversy, is even rarer. And it's driving people insane. Reporters are digging. Players are speculating. The league is watching. And every new development, or non-development, just adds fuel to the fire. Because if Shedeur wasn't considering the Bengals, wouldn't he have said so by now? Wouldn't he have posted a Cleveland, I'm locked in tweet? Wouldn't he have dropped a subtle hint on social media to calm the noise? Nothing. Just silence. And a very expensive offer sitting on the table from a team that's ready to hand him the keys. Let's be real. What's keeping him in Cleveland at this point? Loyalty? That's cute, but this is the NFL. Loyalty only lasts as long as the structure around it makes sense. And right now, nothing about Cleveland looks stable. Money? Well, the Bengals are offering more. A lot more. And they're doing it with a clear plan in place. Opportunity? Again, Cincinnati is handing him a fast track to becoming the face of a team that's been in the playoff mix for years and has the tools to go deeper. So unless Sanders feels an emotional pull to stay in Cleveland just to prove a point, the logic here is leaning heavily toward a departure. And if he leaves, what then? Does Cleveland roll out another rebuild plan? Draft another quarterback? Shift the playbook, again, and ask fans for patience, again? At a certain point, fans aren't buying the next time pitch anymore. They're tired. And if Shedeur walks out that door, the Browns are going to be dealing with more than just a quarterback problem. They're going to be dealing with a full-blown trust issue. Because let's not forget, this isn't just any quarterback. This is the guy they were supposed to build around. And losing him to a rival? That's the statement loss. That's the kind of loss that defines an era. That's the kind of loss that gets replayed in highlight reels and low-light documentaries for years. And if you think the league isn't watching all of this unfold with interest, you're kidding yourself. Other teams are paying attention. Other agents. Other young quarterbacks still in development. They're all watching to see what Cleveland does, or doesn't do, next. Because this situation is quickly becoming a warning sign. If the Browns can't hold onto a player they hyped as their future, if they can't keep internal confidence intact during a crisis, if they let a divisional rival outmaneuver them in public, that's a branding problem. That's a front office problem. That's a team culture problem. And those problems don't stay contained. They leak. They spread. They define franchises. Which is why this decision from one player is now holding two entire organizations hostage. Cincinnati has made its move. They're all in. Cleveland is scrambling, hoping that silence doesn't turn into goodbye. And Sanders? He's sitting in the middle, fully aware of what he's worth and of how much power he has right now. If you're Shedeur, This is as close as it gets to writing your own future. You've got two paths. One leads to a fresh start, surrounded by confidence, strategy, and a fan base begging for you to lead. The other keeps you in the middle of a chaotic, shaky system trying to convince you they might have it figured out if you just give it enough time. At some point, it stops being about loyalty and starts being about reality. And the reality is, Cincinnati looks ready. Cleveland looks lost. So what's he going to do? That's the question the whole league is still waiting on. And the longer it goes unanswered, the harder the fallout is going to hit. Whether it's a press release, a jersey swap photo, or a single-word tweet, when the decision comes down, it's going to land like a meteor. Because this isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. This is about a league that's shifting faster than ever. It's about players realizing how much leverage they really have. It's about teams learning the hard way that talent without structure doesn't mean anything. And when this story ends, whichever way it goes, things aren't going back to how they were. When the dust finally settles, one thing will be clear: this saga was never just about football. It's about what happens when a franchise puts its future in one player's hands, only to watch that future get snatched away by a smarter, faster, more prepared rival. It's about leadership under fire, about silence speaking louder than press conferences, and about how one decision can unravel years of planning in a single moment. If Shedeur Sanders chooses Cincinnati, it's not just a transfer, it's a reckoning. The Bengals will walk away with a potential star, a PR win, and a blueprint for how to dominate a division without even stepping on the field. Cleveland? They'll be left with questions, empty promises, and a lot of angry fans who are tired of hearing, "Trust the process." And if Sanders stays? The cracks don't disappear. They just get buried, for now. Because the Browns showed their hand. They weren't ready for this kind of pressure. They weren't ready to protect what they had. Either way, this moment is going to define careers, coaches, execs, and Sanders himself. You're watching a power shift in real time. Two franchises. One quarterback. A whole league holding its breath. So stay locked in. We're not done yet. Hit that like if your group chats have been blowing up over this. Drop your predictions in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because however this plays out, the NFL will never be the same after this.